AITAH for moving states and not agreeing to take my 32 female sibling. 9. Later? I need to start by saying I've had a fantastic relationship with my family. Until a few hours ago. I'm the oldest of 8. My youngest sibling, who we will call H, is 9 and has severe Down syndrome and several related developmental issues. They will never independent, or even able to be left unsupervised for more than 20 or 30 minutes. My other siblings are in and out of jail, addicts, and the most irresponsible bunch you've ever met. I have my shit together. Like, very together. I recently quit my job, that I absolutely hated, and moved halfway across the country to be with my BF. I do not regret this decision one bit. My mom wasn't thrilled, but she likes my boyfriend and his kid, so she didn't throw too much a fit. Over the summer we lost a few people in our family, including my dad's brother to a major heart attack. My mom has been making sure all of the end-of-life preparations are in order for the two of them ever since. So yesterday when she drug him to the hospital for chest pains and he was having a heart attack, she lost her shit. It wasn't bad, according to the doctor. She called this morning to give me an update. Dad is totally fine. Flirting with his nurses and doctor and begging to be sent home. Even threatened to call an Uber if my mom doesn't give him his keys. Before we got off the phone she said she wanted to talk to me about what happens to H when they can't take care of them anymore, later tonight. I asked her what her plans were so I had an idea of what to expect later, and she said, well, you'll obviously have to take H. You know your brothers and sisters won't be able to handle H, even if they straighten their shit out and get helpful spouses. I told her I felt like that was a lot to throw on me and don't think that's something I can handle due to my mental health, but we can continue to coming back to it as I progress. I have PTSD and similarly related. I'm not typing it all out, this is already long enough. The sound of a neighbor's garage door slamming shut sent me into a panic so bad I practically climbed into the kitchen cabinet and my boyfriend had to put me to bed. She got upset and screamed at me that she never believed that crackpot doctor and that diagnosis is total BS. My manipulative boyfriend probably paid the doctor to get it for me so I can get high on Xanax like my sister. That I'm an ungrateful and selfish daughter for turning my back on her and moving so far away, and she regrets adopting me. I hung up and called my BF. She sent me tons of text messages and Facebook messages explaining how I've betrayed her and our family and links to why siblings need to stay together when their parents die. I sent her a single message asking her, is this still about H? Or has this been about you the entire time? She responded with one word, cunt, and I was suddenly getting messages from my siblings and family, some of which I have never even spoken to. AITAH for moving away and not immediately agreeing to take my sister in when my parents die? Not the asshole. I'm sorry, your mother is so cruel. She doesn't get to unilaterally make this decision and force it upon you. Her inability to have a conversation with you and include you in this decision is her failure. It's a massive ask to take on, and one that requires care and consideration. Then again, you're welcome to prove her right, and show how selfish you are by saying no and then being done with her. None of that would make you selfish. It's important to protect yourself so you can be healthy, and people like her get significant other angry when their gaslighting and manipulation don't work. Not the asshole. She was allowed you ask, and you answered. She needs to accept that answer. You are not obligated to take on the care of your sibling, who will forever need care. I know this must be a bombshell to her, but she needs to shift her focus into looking into and figuring out the best care for her son in the eventual event of their death or inability for care for him. That is the responsible thing to do. Not the asshole. Put on your own oxygen mask and prioritize yourself. Your mother may be stressed out, but that is not an excuse to be so cruel to you. You do not owe any obligations to be a caretaker for life. Her kid, she needs to figure out her own shit and not count on dumping them on you. Hold your boundaries and do not give in. Not the asshole. If it was me, I'd have gone scorched earth, no contact the second she called me a C. Not the asshole. I'm gonna give mama some grace because she is obviously stressed out and panicky, but I think maybe a good time to stay halfway across the country, and lower your contact with mom. She does not get to use one kid as a resource to take care of another kid, or kids. You are not obligated to give up your life plan for your sibling. Am I the asshole for refuse to pay for my stepfather's treatment? English is not my first language, I'm sorry if something is wrong. Background. My mom, F42, got pregnant with me, F25, in high school. When I was 2 or 3 years old, Mom married a guy, M43, we'll call him John, whom I considered my father for a long time. Some time later, my younger brother, M20, was born to them. So, John was definitely a real piece of shit. I was a fat kid, and sometimes he wouldn't let me eat because he was angry about it. One of my first childhood memories is how he hits my head against the wall because I ate a chocolate bar. Sometimes John punished me just because he was in a bad mood. He ruined my childhood, and I have to deal with some of the consequences of those events to this day. John treated my brother normally, he was a good father to him. My mom never did anything bad to me, but she didn't defend me either, she just said that he wouldn't do this to me if I was a good kid. When I was 16, Mom and John divorced, but continued to communicate. Sometimes he would come to our house to help with repairs or spend time with my brother, but we ignored each other, didn't even say hello, and we haven't spoken since their divorce. Mom never started another relationship. So, now let's move to the present. I married my friend, who comes from a wealthy family. I don't talk to my mother very often, now she works in a hair salon. Sometimes I chatting with my brother, now he is a college student, and never communicate with John. He lives in his parents' house, but I do not know what he does for a living. Some time ago, Mom and I were talking on the phone, and she mentioned that John fell from the roof of the house when he was repairing it. Allegedly, he has some serious injuries, but he does not have the money to pay for their treatment. In my country, any good medicine is paid and costs a lot of money. It's sad, but it's true. I'm clarifying because I don't know how it works in the USA. I didn't understand why I needed this information, but for the sake of politeness I said something like, "I hope you'll be all right." Mom reacted a little strangely, but quickly changed the subject and I forgot about it. Over the next week, she called me every day, although this is very unlike her. Every time she told me about the plight of John. When, in response to another complaint, I suggested that my brother start earning, she replied that he still won't be able to earn as much money as you have. Then I realized what they wanted from me. I said that he will not receive the slightest amount from me, because my husband's bank account is not a charitable foundation, and John is a nothing to me. My mom wrote me a long message where she said that I was a vindictive egoist who lives on grievances. My brother and aunt also told me that my stepfather raised me and I am ungrateful. They don't want to talk to me. My husband supported me and said that they were trying to manipulate me with guilt, but I still feel like shit. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, your husband is right, they are trying to manipulate you. Sometimes blood may be thicker, but family is someone who supports you through hardship and success. Let that sink in for a moment. Your family. Let that man abuse you all because he raised you. Tell your family that organs cost a lot of money if they want to pay for an abuser. Do not give that man anything, he can rot in hell. Husband's bank account is not a charitable foundation. I like this. Maybe his parents can help him. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. He didn't raise you, he abused you. You'll feel better if you go no contact with all of them. You suffered abuse from this person. Your mother didn't defend you or make the abuse stop. Did your brother witness the abuse? Of course you have a list of grievances. They others, mom, bro and aunt, are doing what they can to make you feel awful. They know the buttons to push to make you feel guilty. You have nothing to feel guilty about. Not the asshole. Because my husband's bank account is not a charitable foundation, and John is a nothing to me. Sums it up nicely. Email your mother and the others in your family with the statement. John and I have not spoken a word nor communicated in any way in 26 years. He is as dead to me as I have been dead to him for the past 26 years. I will not be contributing 1 penny to the dead. Not even for his funeral. Am I the asshole for hiring a babysitter so that I can go golfing twice a month? My wife, 39F, and I, 41M, have been married for 12 years and have 3 kids, 10, 7, and 4. I got in on the ground floor of a start-up about 20 years ago and the business has since grown exponentially. I am now in an executive-level position. My wife works in retail. About 18 months ago, my wife was offered a promotion that would include a relatively small bump in pay, but would require her to start working weekends, something she was able to avoid previously. They also dangled a carrot in front of her in the form of this promotion, leading to a bigger and better promotion. She was very excited about the opportunity when she told me about it, but I expressed some concern about her having to work weekends. She would have to work 5-6 weekend shifts every month, so pretty much 3/4 of the weekends every month. I told her that is asking a lot of her when the bump in pay isn't that much. especially when we don't particularly need that extra money. But she was so excited to advance her career that she disregarded my concerns and accepted the position. Since she started the new position, I have told her many times how I am feeling stressed and burnt out by not really having breaks during the week. I work a stressful job 5 days a week, and then have to go into solo parent mode almost every weekend. On the weeks my wife works weekends, she gets 2 days off during the week pretty much all to herself, especially during the school year. Yes, she uses this time to run errands and do things around the house. But she also uses it to meet up with friends and do things for herself. I do not have free time to do similar things for myself. My weekends are filled with activities for the kids. The one weekend a month my wife doesn't work is allocated as family time, at the request of my wife. Whenever I brought this up to her, she would tell me that her position is temporary until she gets another promotion, but that hasn't happened. This summer, I started hiring a teenage girl in our neighborhood to watch our kids for a few hours twice a month on Saturdays so that I can go golfing with buddies. It's done wonders for my stress level, and the social interaction greatly improves my mood. The kids look forward to it as well as they like the babysitter. When I first told my wife about this, she was upset because not only am I spending money on a babysitter, just for myself, I am also spending money on golf, pretty much canceling out the money she makes that day or even more. When I tell her how much better I feel by having time for myself, she tells me that I should do that in a way that isn't so expensive. The last time she brought this up, I reminded her that even after her promotion, I still make over 2x what she does, and that her bosses probably lied to her about another promotion because no one else would take the position she did. She got mad at me for insulting her career and for spending hundreds of dollars every month just on myself. Not the asshole. You need a break. Mental health is important. If it doesn't hurt your family's financial situation, it's a money well spent. Not the asshole. She forced solo parenting on you without your consent. You're simply making the best out of a bad situation that she unilaterally created. If it were me, I'd increase the number of hours and days to make it a real break, not just a few hours. But, I am the asshole. Open mouth smile. Clarification. Did you talk with her about doing it first? Who handles the children during the week after work hours? What things is she meeting up with her friends to do? You're not the asshole for playing golf or getting a babysitter. I reminded her that even after her promotion, I still make over 2x what she does. This is why you're the Everything I said assumes that your finances are okay. 2x a retail employee isn't that much. Not the asshole. She can't complain about a unilateral decision you made for the family when she made one herself that put your family in this position to begin with. She's being a hypocritical asshole here, plain and simple. Am I the asshole for telling my wife's parents not to come to our reception? I recently eloped with my wife Emily and we are both 22. Things have been contentious between her and her mother, Jeanette, for quite some time. I am sharing this with Emily's permission and we are both looking for some outside perspective. Emily's little sister Reagan died when she was 10 of a terminal illness. Emily was 16. Emily and I started dating shortly before Reagan died, so I was with her family during the funeral, etc. Of course it was an unimaginable time. I know everyone grieves differently, but Jeanette has taken it to the extreme for far too long. Some examples include, Emily was very involved in our high school music program. She sang in choir and recitals and performed in 2 musical productions. Jeanette didn't come to a single one after Reagan died. She said thinking about how she would never get to see Reagan grow up to participate in any extracurriculars would make it too painful for her. Jeanette stopped celebrating holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, so Emily has spent them with my family for as long as we've been together. After our graduation she made a Facebook post announcing that Emily had graduated, but mostly the post was about how Reagan is smiling down on her. My mom, who knows about the issue, hosted a combined high school graduation party for me and Emily because we were afraid Jeanette would find some way to make it not about Emily, but Jeanette was still allowed to come. My mom had a table with our senior photos, our diplomas, and our college acceptance letters displayed on it. Towards the end of the part we saw a third diploma on the table. Jeanette had a fake post-mortem diploma made with Reagan's name on it and placed it on the table with ours. She wanted us to take an engagement photo in front of Reagan's grave and went into a drunken spiral when we didn't, blaming Emily for her hangover the next day. There are more examples, but you probably get the idea. Jeanette wanted a memorial table or chair for Reagan set up at our wedding. We said we would think about a table because I have a good friend and a couple of relatives who died. But no, she wanted a table or seat for Reagan separate from my deceased relatives. Jeanette and her husband were going to pay for our wedding. Jeanette threatened to withhold funding until we agreed to do a memorial. So, instead we cancelled the venue and everything that had been booked and eloped. We're planning a reception for later this month, and after talking things over with Emily, outside of Emily's presence, told Jeanette and her husband that they are not invited because we cannot trust her to not make it about Reagan. Jeanette groveled and promised not to. I put my foot down and said no. Jeanette is livid and has been making me out to be a villain to anyone who will listen. Emily is second-guessing our choice and wonders if we are being Oz for being too harsh on Jeanette. I think her ranting and raging via text, phone calls, etc. is getting to her. Not the asshole. Jeanette has weaponized her grief, so she can always be the center of attention and get her way. Nothing you can do about that except keep her at arm's length. And who cares what she says? Not the asshole. I'm sorry when anyone loses a family member, especially a child. But to make everything about that deceased child is a huge slap in the face to their other child, Ren. Your wife's mother has shown herself to make events about her deceased daughter, the fake diploma. And if you can't trust her to celebrate you and your wife, you're right to take the stance you have. I'm sorry. Your wife deserves better from her parents. Not the asshole. She would find a way to make it all about Reagan. Block her on all electronics until after the reception and make sure on the day that you have someone to act as security to keep her out, just in case. And congrats on the marriage. If you ever start feeling you might have missed something with the big wedding, just remember how much money you saved. Not the asshole. It is sad when a child dies, but even more sad when you forget about living children. Not the asshole. The financial threat showed her true colors and she can't be trusted.